Dear all, the speaker and participant, welcome you to the second day of FinSec Conclave 2021. Hope you had a fruitful first day at the conclave. In this panel session, we would be talking about the theme securing flexible, distributed, and hybrid work, future of financial work. This session will give a perspective on workforce modernization and how the financial industry has been transformed during the pandemic. It will deliberate upon the most common cyber risks associated with flexible hybrid work in the financial industry. Now, I would like to introduce the panelists for the session. We have with us Rajesh Hemrajani, CISO, Paytm Payment Bank, who will be moderating the session. Mr. T.R. Venkateshwaran, CISO, Punjab National Bank. Ms. Babita BP, CISO, CSB Bank. And Mr. Ved Prakash, Senior Business Development Leader, Sales Group India. Now, I would request Mr. Hem Rajani to present his view on the subject.
Sure. Thanks a lot. Thanks DSCI and thanks Citadel platform for basically organizing this. Am I audible? First of all, can you guys just thumbs up firstly? Okay. Thanks a lot. Thanks everyone. First of all, I would like to thank basically the DSCI for picking up such a relevant topic of a hybrid working and how do we ensure that securely we deploy this hybrid environment for our employees. It is something all the CISOs are grappling with from last almost 1.5 years. Although it's not something which was which is induced by pandemic, it was even prior to pandemic as well. Also, especially in the a lot of foreign banks and a lot of Indian banks as well. Also, the CISOs were grappling with how do we provide the work from home environment and all that. But considering now this is a reality. This is something which is very relevant for all of us to discuss it. So it's a topic which we should be deeply discussing and understanding about it. I was actually reading a recent article of McKinsey, which has mentioned about like 25% of the workforce will either will displace or change the jobs, which is a very large number which we are talking about. And they have mentioned in next 3 years, and by 2025, 25% of the workforce will be displaced. So what we are basically what this pandemic has done it apart from this work from home, there are two major other trends also which has evolved with it. Am I right? One is use of all these digital technologies for transactions and the collaboration. So now even a kid of a 5 year old and a person of 60, 70 year old also, or even 80, 90 year old. My father actually do a lot of Zoom calls and all that to my brothers in US and all that. So see, and he's like he's not a very tech savvy and all that, but now he knows how to use Zoom, how he knows how to use Teams and all that as well also. So that's basically the change which has happened because of pandemic. And I think other big trend which was there even prior to pandemic was using of AI and automation, which was there in prior to pandemic, but only it has because of pandemic it has actually now accelerated the whole growth there. So, and especially, organizations like us who are, more of a fintech type of companies, I am getting a request, to doing a hoteling. So it's a new trend which basically, where a person can actually book a sort of a space in the office. So even if you have to use your space and you have to go to the office, you like how you book a hotel room, you have to book a office space in for yourself before you enter into the office. So all this is basically, the it's changing the whole work life and it's changing the whole paradigm there. For professionals like us who are pure play security guys, for us it was a perimeter earlier which we were trying to save. Now the perimeter has gone. People are earlier then we were talking about the saving at least the endpoints now. But now the endpoints are also no more there. Am I right? So there are people in the office now who work maybe Monday to Friday in office, and on a maybe on Monday and maybe on another week they wanted to maybe work from home, and they don't wanted to carry maybe their laptops or the desktops. They wanted to basically use their personal laptop or something to connect with. So how do I secure that now? Am I right? That has become a bigger challenge now for security professionals like us. So that's the thing I thought we should be discussing. One second. So looking at this backdrop, what I thought I'll maybe put some questions, and we have a very esteemed panel here. Babita, who's from a CSB bank, and we have Venkat, who's from a large PSU bank, and then we have Ved, who's from a solution architecture point of view, will provide his views as well. So now, maybe first question to you, Babita. Considering you are the only lady in this, so we'll have a maybe first question to you now there. So how should you basically in the banking institutions and in the financial institutions, how do you see this? How do you prepare yourself and to the teams about this type of environment? Considering that now your users are no more sitting in the office, which you need to secure it. Am I right?
Thank you, Hemish, for the question, and thank you, Nisai, for this wonderful talk. Here, every now hybrid work environment is part of our life, and we have to adapt it. And when we talk with respect to business aspect, it is like everyone has accepted it, and we started living with it. And when if we even statistics show that the employee efficiency has increased, and even the working hours normally when we work in office, the working hours also has increased when we have adopted to work from home. So when we think from the business perspective, it is always seemed to be a positive sign. But when it comes to security leaders like us, it is always a challenge. As you rightly mentioned earlier, we were working within the perimeter, and we were taking care of our assets within the perimeter. Now the perimeter has gone, and earlier we were thinking about the endpoint security, and now we have to think about the end user security because the endpoint has changed. When we are going for a BYOD kind of thing, we are not having the visibility of what kind of the machine they are connecting with, what is the security posture of the machine, how whether there is an antivirus or whether it is any malware infection is already there in that laptop or any. So that kind of a closed perimeter has changed. Now, if we say that we our endpoints are protected with our EDR or with Symantec or we are connected with APT, so all these things are within our environment. When it comes to BYOD, how we will secure it, how we will, because these CISOs have to work with the business requirement. We are here not like a showstopper. We have to adapt to the new technologies and the requirements of business, and we have to provide security solutions based on that. So when we have, as you said, like banks like us have never thought about a work from home kind of thing, but due to the need of the situation, we have to immediately go for that. But this, as the technology has evolved, and we are also known to these technologies, what we have done is we have rightly put security measures at the like in this situation, we instead of putting more controls on the endpoint, you have to educate the end users, tell them why we are putting these controls or why these controls are required. So because we are now if it is a machine which is connected within our environment, we will get the logs from the SIEM, and we will be able to detect an incident at that point. Now, unless and until a user tells that there was a malware which I have clicked, or something has happened to my desktop when he is working or she is working at a later stage. So that in order to increase the incident response, The main thing we have to concentrate is to educate our end users and tell them why the security controls are required, what kind of cyber threats or cyber frauds are happening through which they can exploit the environment, and without any hesitation they should come and tell the security team that what this is what has happened, and based on that we can take an immediate remediation methodology. So here right now I would like to highlight that with this new kind of hybrid work we have to concentrate more on the security awareness creation. Himesh, Raj, I think you're in mute.
Rajesh, you are on mute, I think.
Sorry, guys. Yeah. So this is also another one of the learnings which we all have to do it also. so so maybe now I think very well said, Bhavita. So I think the key learnings which I think I have taken it is this employee efficiency definitely which has increased, and how do we ensure we educate the employees so that they understand before they clicking on anything. While earlier they were in office, now they are not in the office. Thanks a lot. How about you, Venkat sir? Considering that we have just recently completed such a large merger of the two different banks and with the different cultures and all that, how do you see this in your bank shaping up?
Good afternoon to everybody. See, this work from home concept is not new to banks. They have been doing it, but it may not be work from home, it was work from anywhere. Okay. See, in critical situations, we were doing this. If a person had to go somewhere and he had to immediately work on certain things at the data center level, we used to provide the access through one of our branches so that it comes through a secure network. But now the comfort has gone now. Now it is they will be coming through the internet to the various devices and this. So the first thing is what is required is a change in mindset of the organizations and the management, that yes, this has to be allowed. Okay, in a controlled way. For that, we need to take proper approvals and we have to put everything to be in place, proper procedures should be put in place. Then when we come to the technology side, one is, see, we should be able to identify the person who is coming through the work from home methodology. We should be able to authenticate the person. Okay. Then we should be able to control what all he is accessing, and the access should be smooth. And if he is having some problem, we should be able to provide some support wherever required. See, for this, one of the technologies is the VPN, okay, with a dual factor authentication. That is the connectivity part. These are mostly they will be using the tunneling and technologies for accessing the whatever devices or the infrastructure. Next is the privilege identity management, which is required at the central level, where the control will be provided, where the rules will be provided, what all they can access, and who can access, and whatever they are accessing, whatever commands they are putting in, they will be recording. This will be got recorded. Then we should have a process of registering the users, because we should know who is using it. Okay. So for registering the users, we should have a mechanism, and then in a long term, in a long term perspective, we should also try to bring in the solutions like VDI. Okay. See, at present, it takes time to get these implementations done. Immediate this thing is generally the firewall or the EDR solution providers, they will be having these work from home solutions. That is what the organizations will be immediately adopting. Okay. One is the two-factor authentication. Then this thing is, say, as Madam Bhavita rightly said, we have to educate the users to have proper control over their endpoints. It may be mobile devices, it may be bring your own devices, it may be the organization provided devices. Organization provided devices, yes, we will be able to control. But in case of the other devices, there should be in case of mobile devices, there should be some mobile threat protection solutions to be in place, and you should also have a mobile device management solution so that the data is controlled from the central place. Then the VDI, I think VDI, it removes the need for protecting the endpoints if it is implemented properly, because everything will be happening at the data center level. So those infrastructures ought to be created if the organization is looking for a long-term work from home structured implementation. Thank you.
That's very well mentioned, in fact, and that's articulated also. I think a couple of things which you added on top of what Babita added was, so basically the access control is definitely, so identity will be a key thing, considering that apart from whatever the technical controls, VDI, VPN, and all that you put it, I think the identity will be a key thing which needs to be controlled as well also. So very well said. Considering now I'm just moving to the next. Basically, considering now banks, and especially in the banks, are more regulated, more control-oriented organizations, and regulators and all that were also controlling it. A lot of things. Although during the COVID time, they did allow. I know exchanges and all that allowed to do work from home as well. Also, some of the traders who were not even able to earlier even work from any other place except their own place. Now they've been given trading desk and all that at home to do that as well. So they allowed all that to happen, and a lot of banks allowed treasury desks and all that also to work from their homes and all that also. So while that is there in this type of distributed work environment, how do you see, Babita, banks and all that take care of it, the security of those endpoints or those users as well also?
As Venkat sir has rightly mentioned, it is work from anywhere, not only from home. Yeah, that is the kind of culture we are following. And as he rightly mentioned, the security measures we have adopted is a VPN and all those sort of things. And in VPN itself, if it is what kind of controls we can put in VPN, like before connecting, we have to check the security posture, whether there is a Symantec or whether it is the OS, what is the patch done in the OS, and even geolocation wise locking we can do. Multi-factor authentication. So these are the security aspects we can implement to overcome these challenges of knowing the unknown, connecting to our network. And see, when we are going for the endpoint, from the endpoint level, even it is a BYOD, we can check the security posture of it. And moreover, many a times what we have seen is, see, we told that it is not a new thing. We have been working with work from home earlier also, but we may not be connected directly to our bank network. Instead, we might be accessing our emails, isn't it? But there also we are in a distributed environment, work from anywhere, and most of the executives we are always in our email, checking our emails through either it can be through a mobile or through our laptop. So we have to be more concerned on our email security. For that, we can go for DMARC, then spam filter, and other email security gateway tools and all. And with that, we will get a minimum, at least I can say about 75% of the security can be achieved in that way. And again, I highlight that it is the awareness, like what I have clicked. I know this person, whether it is a legitimate mail. So all these things ultimately ends with the awareness. So we have to see security measures, security tools, these security players will put in. We will put the security measures to avoid all possible things. But today's world, we have to work in such a way that we shouldn't expect that we won't be attacked or there won't be any attack. We should be in the field like we might get attacked, but how far we are able to detect that, how far we are able to provide a solution or mitigate that, recover back to our normal business, that always counts. And for that, I always highlight on the incident response plan. Incident response is what we have to create. And we have to do to rectify, to analyze whether the incident response, what we really want to, is in place. And we can even assess the awareness among our employees and users by raising campaigns or ransomware campaigns and see how many of them reported. It is not like how many didn't report. The success is how many has reported to us. So that kind of awareness and the security measures we should take is because we should create a awareness in everyone that security, cyber security is responsibility of everyone, and everyone has a key role in it. We will put the security tool. If it is not configured in the right way, it is of no use. So there also the awareness or the way we have to configure the tools makes a lot of sense. So it is always we have to be aware and we have to create the awareness among our employees as well as users so that we get adapted to the new technologies in a faster way and we can put all the controls seamlessly because we want the support from the end users also for the controls to be in place. So when we educate them like what this is for, it is for their and for the business only we are doing it, they will 100% support us. And then we can have a better environment, secured environment, and secure banking.
Sure. I completely agree. Again, some of the key points specifically which you mentioned, the checking the security posture, and then email security and the incident response. So, incident response. So, I always believe that there is nothing called 100% security. So, eventually one day or other day you will get attacked. So the differentiator between a good bank and a bad bank is how quickly you identify and the how quickly you mitigate that, and how quickly you come back to as a BAU is something differentiates between the good bank and a bad bank, and that's where your incident response and all that plays a huge role there. Mr. Venkat, do you wanted to add anything on that? Considering again, you're a very large bank and you're maybe second largest bank in the country. So do you also wanted to add anything, because a lot is on your shoulders?
See, what is required is, see, everybody is watching this. Whatever the efforts which are being put into to make the systems available anywhere. Okay, but I would like to add that since it's a financial sector, okay, we should be careful in driving the technologies. We should know what we are driving, and I feel that some more improvements will come out when this data protection bill is passed. Okay, so there will be some structured things which are put in place for the protection of data. So when we are, even though we are making various attempts to protect the data of the customers, okay, still there is need for standardization across the industry. Okay, see, for some this data is very important. For some this data is very confidential. So, for an organization like banks or financial institutions, the customer's data will be confidential. But for an analytical company, that data is the bread and butter for them. Okay. So, this data protection bill will put in place certain things, what all needs to be protected, how it is to be protected. These things will be standardized, and that will go a long way in having a secure environment. At present, these controls as regards the work from home, still we have not ventured into this. Whatever controls are there in the database level, that is what is getting implemented. Now we have to try to bring in these controls, and whether they can download the data, whether they can read all these things, we have to look into it. Thank you.
Correct. So yeah, I think the data protection bill is something which we all are waiting for. That will at least set some sort of a framework for everybody to follow it and create a sort of a whole ecosystem with that as well also. And it will bring in that legal framework basically, which at this moment is backdated. It's almost 2010, 11, the time when we basically had this the last circular on that. So, considering that, and considering that various waves coming in and all that, now we are hearing in Maharashtra and Delhi and all that second, third waves and all that are there. To me, it looks like this is going to go on for at least a country like a huge country like us, maybe for at least couple of years and all that. So I was just thinking of it, and it's not only India, am I right? So it's globally this trend is happening, and a lot of big banks like HSBC and all that has already announced, sort of a hybrid environment. They are saying that you can do maybe 2 days, maybe office and 3 days from a home and all that. So this hybrid environment will remain there. So from a security point of view, how do you see this? Because earlier it was a short-term trend. We did allow few people as an exceptions and all that. We did allow few things happen, but that time nobody expected that. Am I right? It's going to last that long and all that. When initially in March when it happened, and then people thought maybe in a couple of months and all that this will be done. But now, considering that we are in a era where at least for a couple of more years, it will continue, and even for organizations like a lot of new organizations, it may continue, and the whole work culture will change. So, Mr. Venkat, from your point of view, do you or you being a CISO there, do you see that sort of a thing happening in the PSU banks also, where you are letting people do work from anywhere, work from hotel or office or anywhere, and at the same time, how do you ensure that you are also at the same time not increasing the security posture of the bank as well?
See, this you rightly said that this is not going to go away. What has impacted? Let us understand. One is people. Yes, people are being impacted. It is also the other support organizations which have been impacted. See, we have been taking the support of various vendors. Okay, they were stationing the resources in our premises or their offices. Okay, all these have changed. So there is need for a relook. Okay, because the support organizations have changed. They have vacated the offices, and it will be difficult to come back. Even see the vendors, if they want to provide support from their offices, they require certain things to be in place for test environment, all those things. Okay, so these things have changed. So my one is the VPN technology, yes, that has been implemented. That is for the connectivity part. Okay, with this we have brought in the two-factor authentication to identify and this thing. We have brought in the privileged identity management. All those things are there. But as a long-term solution, I feel to protect the endpoints and to protect from wherever they are accessing, I think the VDI will be the solution which we have to look at in a serious way. We have to do proper POCs and proper this thing. We have to create the infrastructure at the data center level or at the cloud level. So these things are going to emerge in the near future. The low hanging this thing is small organization. Yes, the firewall service providers or the endpoint security solution providers, they already have this work from home solutions which they are providing. Okay, they can evaluate it, they can test it properly, and then start using it. Thank you.
So, thanks. Babita, do you want to add anything? What Venkat said?
See, as Venkat rightly mentioned, we have to adapt to these new technologies like VDI and VPN, because already they are using it. Only thing we have to explore the more security aspect of it. The main thing is like whenever we are coming with new technologies, fraudsters are always watching it. Every lock has a key. And similarly, they will be coming up with some attack vectors with which they can exploit into our system, and that is what we say as a APT, advanced persistent threat kind of thing. So, in order to overcome all these things, we follow the zero trust, and we have to concentrate more on detection and response, and we have to create awareness among the people. We should have a AI based scene with a SOAR on top of it, with which we can detect the incidents faster, and create a team exercise, conduct a team exercise, and the campaigns and all to understand the security posture of the organization. And above all, we have to correlate the military attack framework with our environment and analyze the attack surfaces and redefine our security policies based on the new attack threats, and fine tune our policy. That is what is required. Whichever technology we are making use, whichever new adoptions comes into existence, go with it. But how far we are refining our technologies and security posture based on the new technology, that always counts.
Correct. So I think again, very valid point. And other thing which you brought in is zero trust, which is now the thing people are talking about it a lot. And basically, it works on a principle: trust nobody. So you put in everything behind this firewall, and then let everybody come in through the various identity controls and all that, and then only you let them in. So, considering all that, I thought Ved has been patiently listening, and I thought I'll bring in the from a solution mindset. How do you see this? The whole, the architecture and the blueprint in next couple of years going to shape with for a bank specifically, considering that the security in the banks are definitely much advanced than any other type of industries.
Yeah, thanks, Rajesh. So a very interesting insight given by Venkat sir and Babita in terms of the technology controls that banks or any organizations managing the sensitive data have to look at in light of the COVID times and going forward with the way the new behavioral aspect is coming up in terms of work from home, in terms of accessing the data from everywhere. So while definitely these calls for a complete different approach in terms of the way data is being created, the way data is the way this digital transformation journey in the organization is happening. What has come from overall is that there is a paradigm shift that's happening in terms of the security approach, which earlier was more on the perimeter centric part of it, which was right in terms of implementing the controls across your firewalls, across your intrusion detection devices, securing the perimeter. But now it is moving with the focus on most critical asset, that is data. What controls are around data? With light of the emerging threats and the emerging vectors in terms of leading to the data breaches that we keep hearing about often in these times, where a lot of PII data is getting breached, how do we ensure or secure this piece of information? And this is where my interaction with the large organizations like banks or government or enterprises had been in terms of identifying 5 major areas to focus on, which is addressing data at rest encryption, data in motion. Then you have having centralized key management approach. While encryption is a good technology to have, but unless you're managing the key encryption lifecycle, that will not give you a valuable result. And then most important, if you're taking a journey in cloud, which is the way forward, how do we secure the data in the cloud? So these are relevant areas where organizations are trying to identify how do we have a single stack of solutions that caters to all these use cases. And that brings me to where Thales as an OEM comes in, where we provide a platform that helps you to address this data at rest encryption use case, where banks are considering this transparent data encryption solution at the file level, which can be applied to all the databases irrespective of the vendor. Then and this helps you to encrypt this sensitive customer data being stored centrally from multiple business applications. And this also helps you to secure unstructured data outside of the database without application changes and then no downtime. So this becomes a very important use case for organizations to kind of look in adopting this kind of approach. The other approach would be, again, doing the encryption of your sensitive files on the bank's application servers and enforcing access controls to the respective files where only authorized users can access this file. So this sensitive file means they consist of this passwords, connection details, other sensitive information about the application. So how are you putting this control that basically help you to address this on-premise data at rest requirement? And when you're looking at moving the workload in cloud, typically the controls like bring your own encryption, which gives you a total control on securing your data in the cloud. So how do you place this control into your workload in cloud? And if there is particular workload which is available as a SaaS or PaaS model where you cannot implement bring your own encryption, it is bring your own keys. That is a new approach which organizations are taking up, which helps you to give certain leverage in terms of owning the encryption keys, managing the encryption keys, and not leaving it with the cloud service provider administrators, which in theory means that they can anyway look at the sensitive data, which no organization would want. So overall, I see that the data security has come out as a significant pointer in any of the cyber security strategy going forward, which needs to be protected across its life cycle, right from the time it is created, which might be at the application level, to where it is stored, which could be file level, database level, to being backed up, migrated, and archived. So you need to have a particular technology that takes care of addressing the complete of the life cycle of protecting the sensitive data. And you need to ensure that you also demonstrate compliance to statutory requirements, regulatory measures, as well as the upcoming data privacy bill, which would definitely look upon having this kind of controls in place. And how do we ensure that you have protection from insider threat? Because that's again one of the key pointers which comes out whenever the data breaches happen. So how well we are actually adopting or implementing the technology control, which acts as the last line of defense on the data, which is encryption, so that even in case of breach or any kind of, say, SQL injection attack which happens and which is able to extract the data from the compromised server, that encrypted data is useless for that hacker. So how do we have this kind of controls apart from the mandatory regulatory controls that Babita and Venkat sir had mentioned, adds up to have this the solution that we are working closely as well in terms of addressing the threat around data and protecting and having a data protection kind of an approach which addresses across the organization and fits across the maturity level of the organization. The most advanced ones are using the same stack for cloud security. The growing ones are using it either for the file level security or for the application level security. And one stack addresses the entire kind of data protection requirement that helps organization to streamline in terms of management, in terms of cost, in terms of efficiency. So this is what from my side as a key takeaway that I see as a solution adoption to address the current requirement.
Thanks, Ved. I think it's a very valid point which you brought in, and a new thing that's basically how do we ensure that data at rest and data in motion is basically and security of that, whether through the encryption or any other mechanism. I was just thinking, and you can answer that question if you don't want to answer it here. So does it have any impact on, suppose if that whole database is encrypted and all that, does it have any performance degradation? Because that I keep seeing, especially technology guys keep saying that if I encrypt it, the performance will degrade, the whole journey of the customer will get impacted and all that. So do you see that also has any impact?
So yes, Rajesh, the encryption technology has come a long way. Earlier, there used to be significant performance impact. Now, with the kind of technology that we provide and we have benchmarked in the large organizations, it's maximum 2 to 3% as an overhead on overall performance, which doesn't matter in terms of the threat that poses in light of the data breaches that can happen. So it is reduced to 2 to 3% of the overall overheads. And especially the transparent data encryption, where you have no change in the application, which is a great advantage for organization to look at and provide significant benefits over the native transparent data encryption of services that is offered by these databases.
Sure. So that's a good point which you mentioned. So I will separately offline sync up with you on that, because that's a challenge. I think a lot of CISOs also faces it, and you will get ready audience there. So
Absolutely.
coming back to the point, to the banks, the CISOs there. So with all these data breaches and all that, I know some of us, because of that, also been asked to come and provide give some sort of updates to the board as well also. And on top of that, we, some of the CISOs, as they got the seat now in the board, where they have to at least every quarterly update the board. And some of the stories I heard, because of the breaches, they got some additional budget and all that also. So maybe Babita, do you see that change happening? Do you see actually on the ground things are changing, especially for the CISOs?
Yes, of course, Rajesh. Due to earlier, see, when it comes to risk, everyone have the perception that it may not happen in our environment. We always have the feel like it has happened somewhere and it may not happen here. Now, during this pandemic time, the instances of attack has increased, and people start realizing that it can happen anywhere at any point of time. And the same thing, and moreover, regulators also has helped up as a lot. RBI always comes with regulatory means like as circulars and advisories with which we can act upon, and which is since it is one of the compliance part, it is very easy for us to present it before the board and get the approval for it and get the. But of course, we have to evolve with the technology. New technologies are coming, and RBA, people like RBA is guiding us to go for it. And of course, this insurance has given a leverage for CISOs to have better budget, and operation level also it has helped.
Sure. How about you, Venkat, sir? I know now, did you get all three banks' budget now, or you have only one bank budget now?
No, it is an increased budget. I do agree, but the issue is not that this thing that we are not getting the budgets. The issue is the time taken for getting the products and solutions in place. See, the problem which we are facing is there are various guidelines regarding. One is Make in India. There is this thing. The solution providers also are not clear. Okay, so when we have to bring in the solution, there will be various queries regarding the when in case of public sector banks, we follow it a RFP the specifications. They will be asking for relaxation in specifications, and that is where it is time consuming to get the solutions implemented. See, we would have easily identified technologies to be put in place. But when we articulate and bring it into the implementation phase, that is where the challenges are there. Because see, what you rightly said, we were asking about the encryption and its payload and the overheads of this encryption. All technologies, whatever we implement, yes, initially it will have this the impact on the response time or the this thing, but we have to properly configure it. The impact is minimized. Okay. See, I remember earlier this thing in 2001 when I tried to implement the firewall, the organizations themselves told that it is not the mindset judiciously. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks a lot. In the paucity of time, I have only 25, 30 seconds left now. So, any quick comments with 5 seconds, 10-second comment from you?
So absolutely with you, Rajesh, and with Venkat, and already with Bhavita, as said, the data protection is not the end game, and it's not an afterthought anymore. It has reached to a boardroom where sanctioning of budget and expenditures have really been hiked up in light of the current threats that are happening. And we were looking forward in terms of data-centric approach compared to the perimeter-based security approach which used to exist earlier.
Sure. Thanks. Babita, anything from you? No, quick comment.
Yeah, my takeaway for the day is like we have to implement the security measures based on the asset we have to secure and the asset value. Because security tools are, of course, very expensive, and how we deploy is always makes us sense. And so, whenever we are selecting security measures or mitigation methodology, we have to ensure that whether it suits our infrastructure and like whatever we require is complied with that. And it is always a multi-layer. With single tool, we won't get the complete security. It is always a multi-tiered architecture we have to follow.
Sure. Venkat, sir, your comment, last closing comment.
Say we should have a structured security policy, and we should move with we should try to implement it based on a structured policy, and that will help the organizations in having long-term implementations. Thank you.
Sure. So now, high level, three key updates. I think one is that we have to have a structured security policy from a data life cycle point of view. We have to have a whole life cycle there, and there is no silver bullet. We have to look at the criticality of the asset, and based on that, we have to put in the controls. So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate all of your comments. I want to thank DSCI and Zudel platform, who has created this such a nice platform for everybody to come in and virtually and be safe and stay connected. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks.